Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video we are going to be learning how to draft a basic bodice block. Knowing how to draft a basic bodice block is a foundation for sewing. As a beginner, if you know how to go about your basic bodice, you can navigate to any style like corsets, bustier and other styles. So it is very important to know how to go about your basic bodice as a beginner. That way you can create other designs, and all the measurements needed for this tutorial will be listed as well. So let's go right into the business of today. So the measurements needed for this tutorial is our shoulder measurement. As you can see on the screen, this is how to take your shoulder measurement. And then the second one is our bust circumference. This is your round bust measurement. As you can see on the screen, this is how to take it. And then the third one is our waist circumference. This is your round waist measurement as shown on the screen. This is how to take it. And then the last one is the length of our blouse. So let's go right into the drafting of this pattern. So the first thing is to get our shoulder line. So I'm going to come to the top of the paper here and rule a line. This is going to be for our shoulder line. Then from there I'm going to come down to mark my bust point. From my shoulder to my bust point is 10. I'm still going to repeat the same thing here to get a straight line. Then from the shoulder I'm going to come down to mark my waist measurement. From my shoulder to my waist is 15, and I'm going to mark the same thing here to get a straight line. Then from the shoulder I'm going to come down to mark the blouse length. I'm going to mark 23 inches for the length, and I'm going to repeat the same thing here as well to get a straight line. And I'm going to rule all these points across. So I'll go ahead and label the lines. This is my bust line, this is my waist line, and then this is my top length, and this is my shoulder line. So I'm going to come to this shoulder line here. I'm going to divide my shoulder by 2, and I'm going to mark it right here, 7.5. And then from that point I'm going to come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. Then I'm going to come here to mark my neck width. I'm going to mark 3 inches for my neck width, and then I'm going to come down to mark 3 inches for my neck depth. I'm going to connect the 2 points together with my French curve. So this is a basic neck, and then I'm going to connect the shoulder slope all the way into the neck like so. So from the shoulder slope I'm going to come down to mark my arm length. And how to get that, you divide your bust by 6, then you add 1.5 inch to it, and I'm going to come down here to mark my arm length. Then we're going to connect the 2 points together from the shoulder to that point, but before that I'm going to mark what I have on the shoulder to get a straight line here, and I'm going to connect these points together like this, and I'm going to extend the line across. So this now become my chest line. So what you're going to do next, I'm going to come to this line and divide this line by 2 to get the midpoint. Remember I got 7, so 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. so I mark the midpoint, and on that point I'm going to go in by 1/2 inch. I'm going to go in by 1/2 inch on this point, and then I'm going to divide my bust circumference, my bust divided by 4. I'm going to mark it on the chest line here, and I'm going to connect all these points together. So I'm going to connect from here to this point with my straight rule, and then I'm going to use my French curve to just complete it into the chest line to meet that point we marked earlier like so. So the next thing is to take our dart, and to take our dart we are going to divide our bust span, that is your nipple to nipple, by 2. My nipple to nipple is 7 divided by 2 is 3.5, so I'm going to mark the 3.5 here on the bust line, and then from that point I'm going to come down by 1 inch. I'm going to come down by 1 inch, and then I'm going to mark the 3.5 also on the waistline. I'll mark the 3.5 also on the top length, and from that point I'm going to go up by 2 inches. Okay, this is where our dart is going to stop, and I'm going to connect these 3 points together with a straight line. From here I'm going to connect it all the way to this point like this. Then on the waistline I'm going to mark 1/2 inch on both sides of this line. I'm going to mark 1/2 inch here, and I'm going to connect from up all the way to that point. And all the way down to this point. So we now have our dart. So the next thing is to go ahead and impute our body measurement. So I've already marked my bust measurements here. So I'll come to the waist, divide my waist by 4. I'm going to impute it here on the waistline. Then this dart intake, I'm going to replace it. I'll come to the hip line, the top length. I'm going to divide my hip here by 4. Then I'm going to connect all points together all the way from the chest line to the top length like this. So the next thing we're going to do right now is to take our side dart. And how to do that, the measurement you have from your shoulder to your waist in front is always different from the measurement you have from your shoulder to your waist at the back. Mine from my shoulder to my waist in front is 15, then from my shoulder to my waist at the back is 14. The reason why the front is longer than the back is because of our bust. So you measure yours, the difference you have, you're going to come down from the bust line with that difference. So mine is 1 inch, so I came down by 1 inch. Then I'm going to connect this point all the way to that point we have on the bust line like this. So I'm going to come down from here by 1 inch. I'm going to come down by 1 inch here, and I'm going to mark half an inch on both sides of this line, and I'm going to connect it all the way to that point. So this is basically it for the drafting of the front. It's very easy. So we'll go ahead and cut it out so that we can carry on with the tutorial. So I'm going to keep this aside, then we'll work on the back pattern. So we're basically going to repeat what we did on the front pattern. So this is my shoulder line. I'm going to come down to mark my bust point, which is 10. From the shoulder line, I'm going to come down to mark my waist, which is 15, my waist point, which is 15. So I'll go ahead and extend the point across. So the next thing is to get the length, but we're not going to measure from the shoulder to the length straight like that, because the measurement we have from the shoulder to the waist at the back is shorter than the one we have in front. So we are going to measure from the waist to the length on the front pattern. Then whatever we have there, that is what we are going to use to get the length. So I got 8. I'm going to measure 8. And I'm going to rule that line across. By the time we are done sewing, at the end of the day, is going to be equal. So this is our top length, our waistline, our bust line, and our shoulder line. So I'm going to come here to divide my shoulder by 2 and put it there just the way we did in front. I'm going to come down by 1 inch for our shoulder slope. I'm going to mark my neck width here. I'm going to come down to mark my neck depth. For the back, I use 1.5 inches. Then I'm going to connect the 2 points together with my French curve, and I'll connect the shoulder slope into the neck like so. Then from the shoulder slope, I'm going to come down to mark my arm length just the way we did on the front pattern. We are basically repeating everything. Then I'm going to make sure I have the same thing I have on the shoulder to get a straight line, and I'm going to connect these 2 points together like this. I'll go ahead and extend the line across as well. So this become our chest line. So I'm going to come to here to mark the midpoint of this line. So 7 divided by 2 is 3.5, right? So I'm going to mark the 3.5 here, which is my midpoint. On that point, I'm going to go in by half an inch. Then I'll come to the chest line, divide my bust circumference. My bust divided by 4 is 8.5. I'm going to mark it on the chest line. Then I'm going to connect all these points together like so. We are literally repeating everything we did on the front pattern. So the next thing is to impute our darts. So I'm going to mark 3.5 inches here on the chest line, on the bust line, on the waistline, and on the top length. And I'm going to come up from the top length by 2 inches. And I'm going to connect all these dots together with a straight line. So on the waistline, I'm going to mark 1/2 inch on both sides, and I'm going to connect the points together just the way we did on the front pattern. Our dart is always taken on the waistline, so always remember that. I'm going to connect like this. So the next thing is to impute our measurements, our body measurements. I've already marked my bust measurement on the chest line. I'll mark my waist measurements here. Then the dart intake, I'm going to replace it. I'll come to the top length. I'll impute my hip measurements, and I'm going to connect all points together. So this is basically it for the drafting. I will go ahead now and cut it out. So we now have the both patterns. This is the back pattern, and this is the front. The only difference between the back and the front is that the dart at the back is all the way to the chest line, as you can see here, and the front is not up to the chest line. And then the back neck depth is higher than that of the front. So this is how to go about drafting your basic bodies. If you find this video helpful, please do well to subscribe, like, and share. See you in my next video.